Have you guys seen my box? I was back here just a little while ago, and I thought I put it back here. Is it back here? You haven't seen it? Okay. Think. Where did I put that thing? I mean, where was I last? I was just... Why can't I find it? I mean, it's got to be here somewhere. Seriously, this is so frustrating. Where did I put that thing? I just can't even remember.
Hey man, what's up?
Oh, hey man, I'm looking for my box, and I feel like I've been looking forever for it, and I just can't find it. I mean, boxes just don't have legs. They don't just like get up and walk away. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's got to be here somewhere.
Wait, this is about a box? Come on man, just relax.
Look, it's not just a box. You know, it's my God box.
Your God box. Yeah, that is a problem.
Thanks for the insightful observation, but yeah, it is a problem. I mean, I feel like I just had it. Did you see me, like, walking around with it?
I wish I had the time to help you. I hate you so stressed out. I really do. Why don't you take my box instead? As long as you get it back to me by Sunday, it's all good. I'll need it for church. I'm lucky I've never lost my God box.
Thanks.
It helps that I only use it on Sunday.
Yeah?
I can tuck God inside and put it on my shelf. He sits in the same place every week until Sunday comes. Then I take it down and head to church.
Huh. Well, I appreciate the offer, man, but I think I'm going to keep looking if that's cool.
All right, see you later.
All right, thanks, Justin. Let's see, I went out to lunch.
Hey, Rob,
And then I
need
was-
help looking for something?
Hey, what's up, Jamie? I'm looking for, my box.
Rob, really? Your God box? Again?
No. Yes, it is. Okay, it is. It's not like I did it on purpose, though. I mean, I feel like I just had it like a few minutes ago, but I don't know. Maybe it's been longer than I think.
That's why you need a small box, like this one.
Wow, that is small.
It's so itty-bitty, you just fit it on a shelf, and when you're done using it on Sundays, you don't have to think about it again. Nobody even needs to know you have it. Well, good luck, I gotta run. Hope you find it.
Yeah, thanks for the help. I think I went out to lunch, and then I was in my office, and then...
Hey, Rob.
Oh, hey.
Hey, so I just ran into Jamie, and he said that you lost your God box. Don't worry about it. I left mine at the mall last week, and it was such a bummer.
Wait, what? I didn't even know you believed in God.
No, yeah, of course I believe in God. I keep him and his faith wrapped up in a box just like you and everyone else.
Oh.
I mean, on Sunday, the preacher kept going on and on about how, limitless God is or something. I don't know. For me, it hasn't been my experience at all. But
Yeah.
once I discovered how easy it was just to tuck God in his box anytime I wanted, honestly, it has not been better for me.
Oh.
And God wants me to be happy, right?
Yes.
Anyways, I learned how to not have to give up any sin in my life.
Really?
Yeah, okay, so this is what I do. I just pick and I choose whatever I want to believe, and if it works for me, then I just tuck it in my box.
Oh.
I don't know, I don't really go around and talk to people about God or whatever.
Right.
That's probably why you didn't know. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so Tim's party, are you going?
Oh, well, yeah. I was thinking about it, but then, this whole box thing happened, and frankly, all these interruptions just aren't helping at all.
Well, look, I'm really sorry, and I hope you can find it, because from what I heard, that party is going to be awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks, Daisy. I appreciate it.
See you, Rob.
I just can't believe this. I mean, seriously, this is just absolutely ridiculous that I can't find this box anywhere. I mean, honestly, I'm at the point where I just feel like I'm just going to give up and just forget about it.
What are you looking for, Rob?
I'm looking for a box.
A box?
It's not just a box. It's my God box. The box that I put God in.
Rob, my child, I've been here all along. You've been looking in the wrong places. I certainly will not be found in a box. I'm not a I'm not manageable. I'm not a substance that can be put in a box. Here, you can have your box, but I will not be found in it. I just lost it.
Well,
You see, Rob, I'm so much bigger than that box. I'm so much greater than your mind can even comprehend.
I know that's true. But what about my box? I mean, I guess I felt like you're so much more manageable, and like you're so much more safe when I could have you just in this box. Or I guess when I thought you were in the box.
Rob, I'm not manageable, and I'm not safe, but I am good.
I know.
Come and walk with me.
Good morning. Today's scripture will be Romans 1:18 through 23. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. But the thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles.
Thank you, Ty. Good job. It's hard to believe, but it's been almost 60 years since J.B. Phillips wrote that very little book, Your God is Too Small. Now, I have no doubt that some of you have read it, probably a long time ago. If you'll notice, that one right up there is mine. And if you notice the price down in the corner, I bought it a long time ago. That will give you an indication how long ago it was. But in that book, Phillips took to task our tendency to harbor trivial images in our mind of God and think that that's really who God is, that small being that we manage so well. In his book, he listed 16 small gods who he said were too small to be God, unreal gods. The resident policeman, most of us have played with that one some. The parental hangover, the heavenly bosom, the pale Galilean, the God in a hurry, and of course the God for the elite or the wealthy. And he had about 10 others in addition to that. And every one of them, Philip proposed, were too little to be God, and yet they're gods that we buy into, that we carry with us, that we harbor in our mind as though this is who God is. But that was nearly 60 years ago. And Phillips had no idea how small God would shrink. Well, how small was that? Well, actually pretty small. In fact, one televangelist sums it up this way. He describes God as a being that stands somewhere around 6'2", 6'3", that weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple hundred pounds, a little better, has a span of 9 inches. Now, that's how he described God is. God looks like. That's what he looks like. Now, that same bearer of encouraging revelation, 3 years later told his congregation, he said, I was shocked when I found out that the biggest failure in the Bible, who that is, he said, God is the biggest one, the biggest failure in the Bible. Well, that's only 2 of a host of quotations that I could cite for you from this prophet. But the real question for me is why anyone would want to believe in a small God. Donald McCullough has suggested that we prefer the illusion of a small deity so we have pared God down to a more manageable proportions. That's why we want a small God, so we can control him, so we can manage him. This whole matter reminds me of an old story found in Genesis 31. Now, you may remember the story of Jacob and how Jacob went to another land, to his uncle's house, and he fell in love with his cousin, Rachel, the daughter of Haran. And he agreed to work for 7 years for Haran if Haran would give him the permission of marrying Rachel. And you remember, Haran agreed to that, and so he worked 7 years. And so after the 7 years were ended, Laban pulled a fast one on him, and he put his other daughter underneath the veil. And Jacob didn't find out till the next morning when it was daylight. All of a sudden, he had been had, and there wasn't anything to do about it. I mean, he was married. He couldn't undo it. And so he agreed to work for another 7 years for Laban for the benefit of marrying Rachel. And so he did that. Now, all of that is in Bible stories, and we tend to be familiar with that story, but there's another part of that story that's not quite so familiar, and that's what's found in chapter 31. And that is to do with 20 years after he went to work for Laban. He had worked for him for 20 years, and during those 20 years, Laban had changed his wages 10 times, and he was not getting cost of living increases. He was being reduced in his wages. And so, while Laban was out of town on a trip, Jacob loaded up his camels, he gathered all his family together, and he left. He was not aware that as Rachel was packing up the goods, she also packed away her father's pet gods, his household gods. She stole his gods. Well, arriving back home and finding everybody gone, Laban sat out on the road in pursuit of them. And when he caught up with Jacob's caravan, he really let him have it. He said, "You took off and didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren, my daughters goodbye." Now, if that wasn't bad enough, he said, "But why did you steal my gods?" Well, of course, Jacob didn't steal them. Rachel had. And Laban looked all over the camp, all over the caravan, looked every place he could think of to find these gods, but couldn't find them because Rachel had hidden them in the saddlebag of the camel, and she was sitting on them. Now think about this a second. Laban's gods were small enough to fit in a saddlebag. Not a whole lot's changed over 4,000 years. Some of our gods are even smaller than that. Our obsession with self has led us astray in the temple of idols. And much like Laban and Rachel, also believers in God, we adopt for ourselves more manageable gods that we can carry with us and that we can control and manage. And so we come to our text today. There are two texts. In Psalm 19, we begin reading at verse 1. "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. For day after day they pour out speech, night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth, and their words to the end of the world." In other words, the proclamation, the testimony of the grandeur of God that the heavens declare cannot be silenced, and there's no place where you cannot hear it, where you cannot see it. Romans 1, beginning at verse 16. Some of our favorite verses, these first two. "I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God for salvation of everyone who believes. First for the Jew and then for the Gentile. For in the gospel a righteousness from God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last. Just as is written, the righteous will live by faith." It's a good text, but not really on the point. Why is God so hard on idolatry? I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but I've thought long about that. Why is he so hard on idolatry? I mean, if once you stop reading right here where I stopped, verse 17, one is left basking in the abundant grace of God. I mean, both of those passages kind of lift one up and kind of put a bounce in one step for the rest of the day. But if we continue reading past 17, the tint of our day changes. Verse 18 and on is rather negative. In fact, it's very negative. All the way to the end of the chapter, even the stuff we haven't read. I mean, if Paul is right, this whole matter is very serious. That which Ty read earlier kind of gives us a glimpse of that. I mean, quite often in Scripture, all of this is linked to the matter of jealousy. The fact that God is a jealous God. But what does that mean, God is a jealous God? Have you thought about that? If you came to me to get married, and we entered into a relationship of premarital counseling, some of the questions that I would ask you would have to do with this matter of jealousy. And what I would be looking for excessive jealousy. And when I find it, and sometimes I do, yellow lights begin blinking. I mean, why is he or she so jealous? I have to know that. I mean, why is he or she so insecure about their relationship? Because I'm convinced that's what it's dealing with. There's something insecure. He got a birthday card from a high school classmate, and she went ballistic. And then she had lunch with her boss on Secretary's Week, and he wanted to take her boss out for a knuckle sandwich. He was not happy at all. I mean, why is he so insecure about their relationship? Why is she so insecure about their relationship? Unless they deal with that problem now before they get married, I promise you it will be a problem in their marriage. They need to find out what the problem is. So what do I do with a jealous God? Is he insecure? Is God insecure? I mean, is that why he goes ballistic on this whole matter of idols? Well, in a word, no. He's not insecure. In fact, his jealousy has nothing to do with insecurity. Two different facts are involved here that pertain to his jealousy. One is love, and the other is the desire to protect. Now, the love relationship between God and his people is something like the relationship of marriage. And we find this analogy made repeatedly in Scripture. A husband cannot play around on his wife without compromising their love relationship. Can't do it. Now, in the heat of passion, he may convince himself that what I do here is not going to affect that, but it will. Even if she never finds out about it, it's compromising the relationship. That's why it's called cheating or infidelity. It's not accidental that cheating on God is also called infidelity. The Old Testament book Hosea is about a prophet whose wife was unfaithful to him. It's a very touching story. Though he is kind to her and loving of her, she found other lovers. She took other lovers. And rather than slapping her around in response, he retrieved her, loved her some more. Repeatedly, he would forgive her, he would love her, and she would spurn his love and go a-whoring again. Repeatedly it happened, over and over again. The sad message of God is that that's the way my people do me, he said. That's the way they do me. And yet there was something involved here more than a wounded heart. It wasn't just the fact his love was wounded. There's also a desire to protect. Hosea wanted to protect her. God wanted to protect his people. The object was not to control her, but to protect her. Idolatry inevitably brings injury to humanity, at least in three different ways. Number one, it deceives and disappoints. Number two, it manipulates and controls. And then number three, finally, idolatry enslaves and even robs one of life itself. It's not that idolatry sometimes does this. It always does this. It always does this. And the tragic story of Hosea is that the prophet's wife was lured away from warmth and security and love by the promise of excitement and gifts and a good time. And at first she was wined and dined. She was pampered. She was given much attention. But it didn't turn out exactly the way she had thought it would. That attention gradually took on an iron grip of control. And in the end, this once loved, once pampered, once adored and protected wife is now on a slave block, being auctioned like a common whore. And when that time came, Hosea paid the price that was asking for her. And he brought her back home to protect and love her again. Now, it's especially difficult for some to believe or to understand that the motivations of God are to love and to protect us. Suspiciously, they come to believe that his real motivation is to control us and to deprive us and to keep us under thumb. Watch 2-year-olds when they told that the toaster is hot and not to touch it. Just watch them. Some 2-year-olds will listen. They will trust their parents' advice and they will immediately withdraw their hand and they will not touch the toaster. Other 2-year-olds will do exactly the opposite. All of a sudden, the instruction not to touch the toaster just draws them like a magnet. And they'll touch it regardless, because they have in mind that there must be something special about that toaster that mommy wants to deprive me of whatever it is. And so they go after it immediately. Or, now clearly, those of us who are watching on the sideline, we can see that a parent's real goal is to protect and love the child. That's obvious to us. But the 2-year-old, he thinks it's to limit, to deprive, and control. Watch a group of 11-year-olds with cigarettes. You have the same dynamic. Or 14-year-olds with drugs, the same dynamic. Some will trust the care of their parents, their advice of their parents not to do that. And they will stay far away from the east is to the west from it. There's no way you could pay them enough because they trust their parents. And others will immediately be suspicious that their parents are depriving them of something. And so they'll go after it like a magnet. The way we respond to the instructions and the prohibitions of God fill the same dynamic. We either trust him and follow his instructions, or we are suspicious of his motives, and we do exactly what he tells us not to do. You see, God forbids idols because they disappoint, they control, and they enslave us. That's why he forbids them. That's true whether we're talking about idols of the flesh, such as lust or drugs or alcohol or pornography or food, That's true of idols of the mind that feed our pride and boost our ego, such as knowledge, power, or wealth. And it's true of idols of the heart, promising fulfillment. That may be knowledge, career, accomplishment, and yes, even religion. Even that can be an idol for us. We're easily seduced because of what these idols promise us. We're lured away, and we follow like we have a hook in our nose. And momentarily, they even seem to deliver what they promise. Momentarily. We feel good. They make us feel good. Or they boost our pride. They exalt our ego. Or they give us a sense of fulfillment momentarily. But when the moment is past, we find ourselves invariably disappointed, deceived, and enslaved. Robert Wuthnow, of Princeton sociologist, has made this observation. He says, at one time, theologians argued that the chief purpose of humankind was to glorify God. Now it would seem that the logic has been reversed. The chief purpose of God is to glorify humankind. He says spirituality no longer is true because it meets absolute standards of truth and goodness, but because it helps me get along. I am judge of its worth. If it helps me find a vacant parking space, then my spirituality must be on the right track. Now, without using the term, what this Princeton professor is talking to us about is our contemporary paganism, complete with a shoebox-sized God. What size shoebox does your pet God require? You know, we keep them around because we think they meet our desires. We can manage and control them. But the truth is, we need more than our desires. The problem is sin. Not sins as in this or that specific offense, but sin. The problem is sin. Our misorientation of life. The fact that where we're supposed to be going is not where we're going at all. But we find ourselves following after the wrong things. May God bless us to throw away our pet idols, to leave them back at Laban's house. May God bless us to be loyal to our awesome and our mighty God. That's so grand that all the heavens declare His glory. And as the line in the drama said, no, He's not manageable, but He's good. You need to respond this morning by confessing Jesus Christ as Lord and being buried with Him in baptism. The water's ready. Rebecca did last week. Maybe you would like to this week. Whatever your need, if it is to come, come while we stand and sing. Please be seated. Our children are going to sing a song.
Put
My challenge to you today is know what God you serve. The truth is, most of us, like Laban, have our household idols. But they do us no good. They only deceive us, and they control us, and they ultimately enslave us. I would remind you of the luncheon. It is a benefit for the Japanese. I would remind you of the dinner Saturday night to support the teens going to track. And I would remind you Wednesday night our study of the roots, the Christian root, or Jewish roots of Christian worship.